Contrary to the claims of what some gun rights proponents have suggested, this hasn't been the first step in some slippery slope to mass confiscation. Contrary to claims of some presidential candidates apparently before this meeting, this is not a plot to take away everybody's guns. You pass a background check, you purchase a firearm.
Oh, boy, the insincerity. And by the way, if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. Joining us on the Malzberg panel right now is the one and only Stephen Moore, co-founder of the Committee to Unleash Prosperity and senior fellow at the Heritage Foundation, and the one and only Ford O'Connell, Republican strategist and political analyst. And Steve, I was with you earlier today here in New York at a function of your great group, the Committee to Unleash Prosperity, honoring and featuring Ben Carson. We'll talk about that in a moment. But let's start with you on this, these guns, the executive orders. Also, earlier we showed that President Obama actually shed a tear when talking about the first graders who were killed by guns. What's your take on what you just heard him say, for instance?
Well, you asked me,
yes, Steve.
I think, look, there is no evidence that this step that the president is about to take has any linkage whatsoever to any gun crimes in America. So I'm not an expert on guns, Steve, but I know if there's no linkage, what's the point of this?
Right.
The only point is to just slice away at our Second Amendment rights. I mean, I might even be for this if he could show me any evidence that somehow this would reduce gun crime, but it won't.
Right. And Ford, you know, I mean, when you hear, how could you believe anything he says when he goes out of his way to say this isn't a slippery slope, I don't want to take your guns away, no one's taking your guns away. You know, all you got to do is hearken back to, as I said, you know, if you like your doctor, you can keep them, or your premiums will go down. I mean, lie.
Look, from day one, President Obama has always wanted to get the guns. I do agree with Stephen Moore. There's nothing here to suggest that anything he's done today through executive action would have prevented Sandy Hook or San Bernardino. In fact, he's actually signed over 20 executive actions on the guns. The bottom line is President Obama doesn't like the Second Amendment, and this could actually wind up backfiring and hurting Hillary Clinton in the 2016 general election, depending on how this plays out.
Well, you know, Ford, he says that it's not going to be a slippery slope. But Steve, they want this to be a slippery slope. I mean, we know what their agenda is on guns. They do want to take guns away from people. They want to take handguns. They want to take assault rifles. They want to take everything away. So it is rather disingenuous for the president to say this isn't a slippery slope when he said very clearly throughout his 8 years in office and when he was campaigning for president that he was in favor of taking away guns.
Right. All right, let's move on. Before we let's stick to Obama. And Stephen, you were talking before we started about how, guys, next week is the State of the Union, believe it or not, 2 days before the Republican debate on Thursday. So the State of the Union is Tuesday. And he's going to go now traveling the country, Obama is, Stephen, talking about the economy and I guess how great it is. And of course, again, that flies in the face of what people are feeling as reality.
Yeah, it sure is. In fact, it really shows what a bubble it is in Washington that his advisors, who all live in, Fairfax, Virginia, or Montgomery County, Maryland, the richest counties in the country, think things are so wonderful, the economy. Maybe they should get out a little bit more, Steve, because when you look at the real evidence, and the Census Bureau just came out with new evidence on family incomes, for the middle class, it's now been 10 years without a pay increase. Now, that's the last 2 years of the Bush administration and the first 7 years of Obama. There is no evidence that things are going well. We've racked up the debt by $8 trillion. And the other thing is, if you look at the big reduction in the number of people in the labor force, the real unemployment rate is still 10%. So I don't think you can fool the people with this message about how wonderful things are going when they don't feel around the kitchen table.
Yeah, Ford, and as he goes around and talks about the economy, and as he touts his his executive orders on guns, and as Hillary latches onto these and praises these actions and remarks, doesn't she dig her hole deeper and deeper? And you mentioned the election in the previous response, and I got to think that attaching herself to Obama is the best thing any Republican can hope for.
Well, that's absolutely right. She's tethered to Obama, and it's essentially his third term that she'll be running on. But that's why she's brought Bill Clinton out on the stump in New Hampshire to remind older Democratic voters of the prosperous 90s, which, by the way, was under a Republican Congress. But even it's a little awkward for her because she's trying to say, put me in and I'll make the economy better.
Yeah, and by the way, Bill Clinton out there is another story. I just think he was putting people's eyes, glazing them over with what he was talking about.
Steve, do you know that, just one quick point about this, the economy. Another hard point for the Democrats to make is that somehow they're going to reduce income inequality when, in fact, income inequality has gone up.
Yeah, under Obama. Absolutely. Yeah. All right, we're coming back. We got another part with both Ford and Stephen. Don't go away on the Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax Television.
They've always wanted that. You watch. I predicted a lot of things, you have to say, including get the oil, take the oil, keep the oil. Right? I've been saying that for 3 years, and everybody said, oh, what can't do that? I mean, this is a sovereign country. There is no country. They have a bunch of dishonest people. They've created ISIS. Hillary Clinton created ISIS with Obama. Created with Obama.
I think that's very important for every Republican candidate to say. Welcome back. Ford O'Connell and Stephen Moore rejoin us. Let's talk quickly about Trump, then I'm going to get to the event today with Carson. Donald Trump, new polls out today, still leading nationally. And there's a report out there, Ford, that says a bunch of establishment Republicans are looking to multi-million-dollar campaign to go after Donald Trump. Is the establishment going to go after him, and will it matter?
I don't actually think they will go after him. One, because I think it'll backfire. Two, it's going to take a lot of money, and you're going to need a top-flight set of political operatives. But here's the key point, Steve. Who is the establishment settled on is their candidate. They haven't settled on it. So until that happens, there's no way they're going to go after Trump. And they really don't even think he's going to win. So,
all right, Stephen, we were at an event today, as I mentioned, with the Committee to Unleash Prosperity, which you are a co-founder of, with Ben Carson. I thought he was magnificent, as usual. Your take on what he presented today as he weighed in, answered all questions on every conceivable issue.
You know, he's had a tough last 6 weeks. His last couple debate performances were not good, and as you know, Steve, he had to, he had to fire his campaign manager, so there's a lot of reorganization. But I still think there's a comeback in this guy. I don't know. I don't think he can win the race, but I think he can be a major player in the months ahead. And that becomes, what the word I would use to describe him, Steve, is genuine. He comes across as being thoughtful, as genuine. He's a non-politician. And I think that's, a very attractive thing. He said, look, I understand business. I understand healthcare. I understand these issues that a lot of the politicians don't. He's charismatic. I'm going to say this on the Newsmax.
Yes.
I think this guy's going to make a comeback.
Okay, well, I wouldn't be surprised.
What did you think?
I was very impressed.
Yeah.
I'm always impressed with him. And he also talked about the media, and we discussed the media with his wife, who was here on the show earlier. Let me ask you, Ford. We talk about ISIS and Trump saying that Clinton and Obama created ISIS, which is basically true. There's a story out, and this goes to Trump's immigration policy, which, by the way, Carson does not fully agree with by any means. Germany had a rash of sex assaults, one rape, groping, lots of sex assaults, and they're talking about the fact this was over New Year's and the New Year's Eve holiday, and it's blamed on Arab men. And we have the Justice Minister calling for a thorough investigation of these attacks and saying this is something new we're dealing with here. It's unprecedented. If it could happen there, could it happen here? And is this something that if Trump makes light of, he could benefit even more in his policy proposals?
Well, Trump should make light of this, particularly because Hillary Clinton's playing the female card, and we should be defending women's rights everywhere. And it goes further to the fact that we should have a moratorium on immigration in this country.
Yeah, I mean, Stephen, I know, this does speak to a problem that Western countries are experiencing, crime and sexual assaults and others, and now Germany specifically here. This is something that should be of concern to other Western countries, including us.
Yeah, Steve, I'm as pro-immigration as anyone you're going to find, but I'm troubled by the fact that when even the FBI says that they can't do the proper security checks, you know, you have to really wonder about some of these refugees coming into the country and whether Obama can get the job done. And I think this all plays into the Trump message. And by the way, it's interesting. Instead of backing off on the Muslim issue, he's using that in his TV ads, and it's resonating with people. Even though the media hates it, a lot of the public is saying, you know what, I kind of agree with Donald Trump on this stuff.
That was a great ad. And, you know, 10 seconds each. Stephen, is Hillary backing off of Donald Trump because of the Bill sex stuff, as some people predicted?
I think a little bit. And I think, you know, the fact that Clinton has so many of those sex scandals and the Monica Lewinsky thing is making it difficult for her to play that
Ford,
part.
quickly.
Paula Jones and Juanita Broderick are a bigger problem because that goes to the politics of sexual harassment and rape allegations. And Hillary Clinton said that women should be believed.
Give me 5 is next. Thank you, gentlemen. With many bank rates running at 1% or less, many blue chip stocks offering a measly dividend of 2%, and government bonds returning about the same or less, how will you generate the income you need to live in retirement? That's the question millions and millions of Americans like you are asking. More and more people are learning that no matter how much you saved, what you need to know is how much income you can actually spend in retirement. And people are finding that nothing generates guaranteed lifelong income in retirement like an annuity can. Certain annuity contracts protect your principal and guarantee you income for life. Crown Atlantic is an insurance agency licensed in all 50 states and the District of Columbia, and they would like to show you how you could get even up to 30% more income in retirement, no matter how long you live. Contact Crown Atlantic today and get their free retirement income guide. Go online at crownatlantic.com/contract or call toll-free 844-734-0716 to speak with Crown Atlantic today. You'll be glad you did.